All right, what's going on, my friends? It's 3 o'clock. The Trailblazers finish up the first half of their season last night in Denver. Nuggets get the win 132-121. A career-high 55 points for Jamal Murray. For Portland, the young guys stepped up with Grant, Ayton, and Scoot out of the lineup. 17 points, 7 boards for Jabari Walker. And Donovan Clingan was a monster. 17 points and 20 rebounds. Coach talked about his big man after the game. The Blazers will now get a week off for All-Star break. The Lakers are in town 1 week from tonight with Luka and LeBron. Scoot Henderson will not participate in the Rising Stars this weekend with his ankle injury, and DeAndre Ayton will be reevaluated in 4 weeks with a calf strain. Michael Holton joins me in the studio at 5:20 for Holton on Hoops. Clayton Kershaw back with the Dodgers next year says it didn't feel like the right time to retire. The Rip City Drive with me is coming up next. Well, I think all of you are going to be happy to know that I sacrificed for each and every one of you today to make sure I could give you the best radio show possible. I woke up to a bunch of snow on the ground and I surveyed the situation and I was thinking about working from home, but I didn't have all the little gadgets I needed to be able to play audio. So I thought, well, just screw it. I'll just drive into work. And so I did. And I can tell you that driving from North Vancouver at the I-5 205 interchange all the way out to Tigard, that the roads are not too bad. Unfortunately, there are a bunch of wrecks and slowings throughout the area, but I was able to make it to work in less than an hour. I think it was about 45 to 50 minutes. There was a big mess up in Hazeldale off I-5, so I had to take some back roads to get back on I-5 off 39th Street and then cruise down the freeway. And then I will just look at the traffic before I leave the station tonight and see what route is best, 205 or I-5. The one thing I love about being up in Salmon Creek is being right there by the interchange because I can jump on either freeway depending on what's going on. But the traffic wasn't too bad. The part that was annoying, my daughter goes to Kingsway in Hazeldale, right there in Vancouver. And sometimes they like to go against the grain and try to be smart. And they elected to have school this morning. And my daughter's best friend was going, so she wanted to be there at school, even though I knew that it wasn't going to last. So you have to get up, take the kids to school, and then within 2 hours, it's like, yeah, we made a mistake. You need to come pick up your kids. Well, I could have told you that, morons. That's why the other schools in the area shut down before the day began because they looked at the forecast. Oh, it's so annoying. I knew that was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. And you know how it goes when you're young. And when I was in school, and I'm sure each and every one of you were the same way, I prayed and asked the good Lord above for snow. Anytime there was a hint of snow, that the news stations were talking about snow, that the forecast had potential snow, as a kid, you prayed for it. You got down on your hands and knees and you're like, Lord, please, please, God, just give us snow because you didn't want to go to school. And you knew that the neighborhood was going to be lit if school was shut down because you go hang with your boys. And that's what we did. And it was awesome. But as you get older and you have places to be and things to do, and in this business, when you work in radio or broadcasting, you can't exactly call in. Yeah, it's really bad. I can't make it to work. That doesn't work in this business. So you either have to be at work or you have to be set up to work from home. But I have these two devices. If you're wondering how this works with the remote broadcast, the technology over time has really changed significantly. Before, when we would do like remote broadcasts back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was like a major production. A bunch of equipment, a bunch of heavy equipment. You had to haul it around, get it set up. It was a real pain in the backside. But as time has gone on and with the innovations with the internet, it's so easy to connect. So I've got this little box. It's called the Tie Line. All you need is power and a internet connection. And if you've got that, you just plug in the wires and then boom, dial right up to the station. And all you need is a headset or a microphone and you can be able to do what you do. But the real issue was I was missing one cord that goes from my laptop into the tie line. to where I can play audio, and I didn't want to not be able to play audio because what that means is I'd have to send a bunch of clips to Shacker, and then I'd have to set him up, and he'd have to play from a different location, and it's a big mess. So I just decided to drive into work. And I knew if I drove in, then I could give you the real report on what it's like out there. The freeways are not much of a problem. Some of the side streets are covered, but it's really not that bad. I haven't looked at the forecast to know what's coming tonight, or if there's supposed to be more coming tonight, or if it's going to be more of a problem in the morning, or if there's going to be freezing rain, or if there's going to be more snow. I just try to go one day at a time. That's all. One day at a time, and then we work from there. Now, on the show today, Alex Brink, who is, of course, former Washington State Cougar, now with E4 Sports, he and Ryan DePaulo work with athletes and help them develop. He's our college football and NFL insider. He'll join the show today. We'll hear from him at 4:20. I want to ask him how he would work with a guy like Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career. Aging superstar who still has something left in the tank, but maybe can't do it the way he used to. How would you work with a guy like that to prepare him for his new team? The Jets and Rodgers have officially cut ties. I was thinking about teams today where I could see him playing and where he would be a good fit. I think the Colts are definitely one. They could use a quarterback, and they have a good roster. I also think the Raiders would make a lot of sense. And that would be fascinating because then you'd have the AFC West with Kansas City, Andy Reid, and Pat Mahomes, the Chargers with Harbaugh and Herbert, the Broncos with Peyton and Bo, and then the Raiders with Pete Carroll and potentially Aaron Rodgers. That'd be a fascinating division next year. And it'd be a lot of fun. But I think those two teams make a lot of sense. Where else would it make sense for Aaron Rodgers to end up? But how would you work with a player like that? I'll also ask him about two college quarterbacks I'm curious about. Carson Beck's going to Miami in hopes of, revitalizing his college career coming off a poor season last year. He needs to, play well to improve his draft stock because he did not play up to his standards, and I think he damaged his draft stock this year. I know he did. And then we'll ask him about Arch Manning. What does he expect at Texas with Arch Manning? And I take interest in Manning because ever since Peyton came to Denver and he, resurrected the Broncos and won a championship, I take interest in the family. And I hate Texas, but I like Arch, and I want to see what type of quarterback he's going to become. And also, this is not going to be a deep quarterback draft like it was last year for the upcoming NFL draft. But the top two guys are Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado, Deion's son, and then Cam Ward, former Washington State Cougar, who went to Miami and now is coming out in the draft. Those guys will be your top two quarterbacks taken. I think Shedeur will be the first, followed by Cam. But I want to know, aside from all the quarterback stuff, all the football thingies, what's the most important thing that you want to know about a QB when you're getting ready to invest that type of dollars into that type of player? So outside of football, what are the things you're looking to find out about that guy? What do you want to know? So we'll hear from Alex Brink at 4:20. And then Michael Holton, I've given him the option. He can choose. Is Holton on Hoops today at 5:20? He can join me in the studio. He doesn't live too far away if he chooses to get out of the crib and drive, or he can join me via phone. So one way or the other, Michael Holton will come on to talk hoops as the Trailblazers finished up the first half of their season with the All-Star break coming up this week. And so Portland now a full week off. They're not going to play another game until 1 week from tonight with the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka and LeBron are going to be in town, and that's going to be awesome. It's going to be really good. Can't wait to see that. So we'll touch on a lot of different things with Holton in regard to the Portland Trailblazers. And then I am going to get to, I've got the audio. I'm going to have my final say, and we'll have some fun with this Luka trade. But I've got the Patrick DeMont audio. He's part of the ownership group. He had a press conference, and one part of me thinks, okay, good. You came out and you spoke after making a big deal, even though we think it's crazy. It's good that you come out and address the decision-making and the thought process. But it really does amaze me, and I'm not joking about this, when you have these owners or you have anybody in a very high-level position, owner, it could be a general manager of something, but I don't understand how you can't work with some of these people, or how you can allow some of these people to go out and speak publicly without some type of, press training. Or maybe have someone that can go over the details of what someone's going to talk about to make sure they don't make a fool of themselves. It's like, dude, you've got how much money? And you own how many properties around the world and all the different things you're trying to accomplish? And this is the best you came up with? And if you're not a basketball guy, you might want to double check with the basketball guy before you start dropping some crazy stuff about Shaq having a great work ethic. I don't understand how a guy that rich and in that type of position can sound like such a buffoon, but yet he did. But then again, when you're trying to justify one of the dumbest trades in the history of sports, you're going to sound goofy. But there's better ways to do it. I just don't understand why some of these people don't get, better training. There's a lot of things I don't understand. One, if you're a high-level athlete, how can you not hire a trainer and a chef to make sure that you're in the tip-top shape and you're eating only what's necessary to be at your best? I don't understand that. How you can have that type of cash and have so much on the line, knowing that your body is your vehicle to get you to where you want to go so you can earn ungodly amounts of cash and yet not take care of yourself with the right people around you. I don't understand it. How these people in powerful positions can get up in front of a microphone and talk and yet sound like they have no idea what they're talking about. I don't understand that. How can teams make bad decisions and then be stunned at the reaction of their fans? Did you not run this by anyone? Did you not consider the PR or the fallout with the PR when you make a bad move? This stuff's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. Politicians, by and large, mostly foolish because they live in their bubble. They have no real connection or understanding of what it's like to be us. And so when they speak and communicate, they sound out of touch. Do you not know what you're talking about? Do you not understand that we are different than you because you live in a bubble? Man, this stuff kills me. Absolutely kills me. So that's what's coming up today, and I'm happy to be with you. So if you're out there bumping around in the snow, good luck to you. Most of you, I would imagine, are staying at home and just chilling. Puppy Shots went outside for a moment and came right back in and got right back on the heating blanket. He wanted no part of that. The low-riding wiener dog, not built for the snow. And Puppy Shots, he took one look at it. He barked. He gave a preemptive bark like any little wiener dog would do, and he came right back inside. But I think he was hoping that I stayed home. See, that would have been entertaining. I could have had him next to me, and he would have been barking for no reason because that's what he does. All right, so we'll keep things rolling. Alex Brink at 420. Holton on Hoops with Michael Holton at 520. And we will get I'll play this audio for you, this Dumont dude. He's a real dum-dum. I can't believe that he said what he said. And you probably shouldn't throw fans out of the arena because they're mad at you trading Luka either. That's a bad look. I'm not a fan of the NBA allowing players to have people ejected from the game. Certainly not a fan of an owner who makes a bad move and a fan who paid for a ticket comes in and they voice that. You shouldn't be tossing them from the arena just because you're butthurt that you made a bad decision. When you're in that position and you make those type of choices, you open yourself up to criticism. That's part of the game. All right, appreciate your time. It's a snowy Thursday afternoon here in Portland. I'm Chad Doing here on the Rip City Drive. like no other. You know it, you'll be on your knees. All right, Rip City Drive. Well, this is such a great song. And I think I've told you before, this is my favorite Phil Collins song. So in 1984, Phil was hired as the producer for Philip Bailey's solo album, Chinese Wall. And Philip Bailey, I'm sure most of you know, is and has been a part of Earth, Wind, and Fire for quite some time. So Bailey approached Phil at the end of the sessions for that album, Chinese Wall, and he asked him if they could write a song together. And Collins said, in regards to the song, so we just started having a jam one night and went round and round and turned it into a verse and a chorus. We recorded it that night so we wouldn't forget it. That song doesn't sound like any particular era. It's just fantastic. The song is in the key of F minor and has a tempo of 105 beats per minute. There you go. Love the song. Love Phil, and Philip Bailey's a stud. I've seen Earth, Wind, and Fire in concert a few times. My buddy Steve's a big fan, and I think he just saw him on his birthday back in October down in Vegas and said they still sound great. The first time I saw EWF was, I think, back in like 99 or 2000. It was one of those 2 years when they used to do concerts down there at Portland Meadows. You remember that? Who was down there? I think Sheed was down there. Maybe Ken Body. There were a couple of local Portland celebs down there hanging out watching the show. It was pretty good. Definitely good. All right, telephone number is 5032-480620. 5032-480620. Alex Brink talking some football. Coming up at 420, we'll get his thoughts coming out of the Super Bowl. I want to know what that's like as a quarterback. When you know that your guys can't block the defense, what's the process and how does it mess with your process as a QB like we saw with Patrick Mahomes? What happens first? Where does the breakdown begin? I can't imagine going up to the line knowing that your guys can't block the defense and you're dead. That's got to be a very unfortunate feeling as a quarterback, where it probably took about 2 snaps. He's like, uh-oh, we in trouble. How are we going to deal with this? And you know your guys can't deal with that because you're overmatched just in basis of talent, right? They have the dudes. We don't have the dudes. How are we going to handle this? And then the more important thing, too, like I hear this all the time, and maybe I'm sure I've been guilty of saying it before. And raise your hand if you've done this before. Well, I just don't understand the adjustments. They didn't seem to make any adjustments. I'm always hesitant to talk about coaches making adjustments or not making adjustments because that's a little above my pay grade. And I don't know exactly how many adjustments are made at halftime or what you do or what can be done. But I've heard a lot of, commentators talk about how they were frustrated that Andy Reid and the Chiefs, a little surprised that they didn't make any adjustments. Well, maybe they did, but they were just overmatched in terms of talent. So we'll ask Brink about that as well. Man, the Chiefs got whacked. They got destroyed. How good is Philadelphia going to be over the next 2 years with their young talent and that defensive front? And what is the Chiefs' answer? How do they repair the offensive line? What is Travis Kelce going to do? What is the answer going to be? And we'll find out. We'll talk with Alex Brink. The Trailblazers did play a game last night. They're going to enter the All-Star break with 3 straight losses. They lost to Denver last night, and freaking Jamal Murray had a career-high 55 points. He had 30 at the half, 45 after 3, and finished with 55. A double nickel. And what I respected about the Blazers last night, you know, we've talked about player development throughout the year. It's the most important thing. Primarily with the 5 key young guys, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, Denny. But they got good contributions last night from Delano Banton, also Jabari Walker, who had 17 points and 7 rebounds. Chris Murray got the start. So I like the effort of the young guys. There was a couple of times where the game looked like it was going to get away like it did on Monday night, but they continued to battle. And I can live with that because Scoot didn't play last night. No Jeremy Grant, no DeAndre Ayton, no Robert Williams III. They were all out with various issues. And so the young guys played. They scrapped. And against a hot basketball team like Denver, who's now won 8 straight, and the best player in the world, in Nikola Jokic, to have that type of effort where they continued to battle was impressive to me. Because, again, regardless of whether they win or lose, and I said this during the winning streak when they won 10 out of 11, the winning was nice, but the most important thing to me was watching the development of the young guys and seeing Scoot emerge, seeing Shaden responded to being benched, and to see Tamani Kamara continue to harass people all over the court with his defense. And now what we've got in the last couple of nights is the play of Donovan Clingan. So he had a career-high 21 points to go with 7 rebounds in the loss on Monday. And then last night, 17 points and 20 rebounds. 10 of those were on the offensive glass. And he played over 30 minutes. His conditioning at altitude did not appear to be an issue last night. But it was great to see Clingan continue to play well. And then I got to thinking, like, how much better will he look as he continues to get more minutes? And keep in mind, DeAndre Ayton is going to be out for an extended period of time. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks with that calf strain. So that means he's going to be out for more than 4 weeks, which means a lot more playing time for Donovan Clingan, which is nice. And Coach was asked about Clingan, the 17 points, 20 rebounds last night.
Yeah, we need all of them. We really do. DC is a really good offensive rebounder. When he gets his hand on it, he is his. He's done a really good job of that. He's established that early in his career already. To rebound that much, you got to be active. And he gets rebounds that are not quite in his area. He goes out of his area to get these rebounds, which is not easy for a guy his size. He could just kind of sit there and wait till they fall in his lap, but he doesn't. He gets rebounds outside of his area, which is a big deal, and he's doing a better job of finishing around the basket.
Yeah, Donovan Clingan was terrific last night, and he is doing a better job of finishing around the basket. We saw that in the game on Monday, and we saw it again last night. He just needs to get more playing time, and as he gets more playing time, when you have a player with his type of abilities and his basketball smarts, knowing where to be, his positioning, and the willingness to compete. And the one thing he does share with Jokic, Clingan is not a numbers guy. He just cares about making the right play to help his team win. So if that means rebounding, yeah, I can do that, Coach. If that means shot blocking, yeah, I can do that, Coach. Whatever you need from Clingan, he's going to go out there and work his tail off for. The other thing that's nice is during the winning streak, he didn't really emerge. He was struggling with foul issues, getting in early foul trouble. He had a bit of a struggle there for a couple of weeks, but he bounced back quickly with these 2 games at Denver against the best center in the game in Jokic. That shows me that with his work, and he's got the short memory, he's not going to allow things to fester and bring him down. So that's very nice. Now, Coach was also asked about, if last night was more of an indication of who they are compared to the, blowout loss by 29 points on Monday.
This is a game that could have really, really got out of hand. You look at Jamal, and he's on fire out there, and then Joker just has a modest 26, 15, and 10, where you spend 2 days and nights trying to see if we can stop him. He had 40 and 3/4 the other day, and then Jamal goes crazy. It could have got way, way out of hand. And it has before. We've seen it. But these guys just fought, man. They just fought their butts off, and I'm proud of that, and we played the right way. For the most part, we were getting crushed on the glass in the first half. We come back and, close the gap there, which allowed us to have opportunity, and everybody that played just played extremely hard.
Yeah, good effort. Good effort from the group. And then Coach was also asked if he's happy with where this team is at as they enter the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we are right now. Obviously the injuries don't make me feel very good, and I hope that we can lick our wounds a little bit, over the break, and we need the break. We all do. Need a little time away from each other, but that's just what the break is all about. But I am, Sean, I'm happy with where we are as a group, as a team. Our young guys continue to take steps, and I loved these couple games right here for DC. I thought he was excellent, and he's gotten himself back to where he was when he was playing at a pretty high level early before he got injured.
All right, so I thought about that last night. Am I happy with where this team is at right now, going into the All-Star break? And I think so, because of the development of the young players. And we're seeing it result in, wins. They've already surpassed last year's win total. That's probably going to prevent them from getting Cooper flagged. But when you draft players and you develop them, and then it starts to take off on the floor and you win some games, you just have to live with it. That's part of it. It's okay. Now, the only part that I would say that was a bit odd last night is that if you're trying to develop your young players, your key young guys, and you've got a game in Denver, and Scoot's going to be out, Grant's not going to play, no DeAndre Ayton, Clingan gets the start, why are you starting Chris Murray? I know why they started him, because the coaches trust him. You know the nickname, right? Mr. Perfect. They nicknamed Chris Murray Mr. Perfect because you only have to tell him something once, and he remembers it, and he's got the right position. He works hard, He does what the coaches ask. He's one of those easy players to utilize as a coach because you know what you're going to get from him. I get it. But the player with more potential and a much higher ceiling on the roster is Shaden Sharp. My guess, or at least my thought was you should probably be starting Shaden. You know, if you don't have Scoot, no Aiden, no Grant, you should probably get Shaden Sharp out there. Now, I know he was benched because of defense, but, you know, you had guys who were down. I would have played Shaden, and I would have got him in the starting lineup, and I would have told him exactly what I was looking for, and I would have done it that way. But they did not start him, but so be it. Shaden played well, and, you know, the Blazers fall short, but it was a good effort. And also very happy for Jabari Walker, 17.7 rebounds. I don't know exactly what he is long-term with the Trailblazers, but he's definitely a player who has carved out a niche in the NBA because of his willingness to work, his rebounding, a very smart basketball player. But what he does, it's interesting to me, and I saw this during the homestand, 7 games. He doesn't get a lot of playing time, and he's been lost in the shuffle with so many other guys who have been playing ahead of him. But he comes out on the floor at Moda Center after the home games, and he works. He's got a few guys he works with. He puts up a bunch of shots. He works on a lot of different things. Like, his work ethic is there. And so I like to see guys who grind it, who put in the time and continue to work, get an opportunity to cash in. And I thought Jabari last night was terrific. He had that sweet steal and breakaway dunk on Jokic. His rebounding smarts, he's got the instincts to be not just a good rebounder, but an elite rebounder. I like him. Work ethic is there, and he got a chance to play last night and cashed in. And finally, one other thing from Coach, he just talked about the loss in general.
This game, and it was a tough first half for us. Man, we came out of that locker room in that second half and really gave it all we had. We really did. I'm so proud of these dudes. This is a game that, you know, in December or November, that could be a 40-point loss there, you know. But our dudes fought their butts off. And I was just so happy for him. You know, I was happy for Donovan. I thought he was excellent in the game. And, I mean, all of our guys, really, they all just fought really hard. You know, they really did.
All right, there's Coach Billups. So the Blazers now get a week off. Lakers, Luka, LeBron, they'll be in town Thursday at Moda Center. Tip at 7. You can get your tickets at trailblazers.com. Now, one thing to keep in mind for tonight, there's a few games on the schedule ahead of All-Star break. Warriors, Rockets, Kings, Pelicans, Heat, Mavericks, Thunder, and Timberwolves, and the Clippers and Jazz. Now, there is a game on TNT. The Thunder and Timberwolves game will be on TNT. I just want to get Shaq's reaction to what the Mavericks owner Dumont said about his work ethic. Because you know Charles is going to be laughing his ass off over that one. And the whole Luka trade. That's going to be fascinating television. I can't wait to watch. I need Charles making fun of Shaq. And the funny thing is about that, Dumont saying that Shaq had great work ethic is that everyone knows that Shaq doesn't have great work ethic or didn't have great work ethic, even Shaq himself. We'll get to that at 4 o'clock. Dumont, this guy, his press conference, I'm going to play it for you because you need to hear it. Doesn't it ever amaze you how certain people, you're like, how did that guy get to that position? How can someone that's supposedly so successful sound so moronic behind a microphone or at a press conference or unprepared? Like, how does that work? And no reference to Dirk either, which is classic. Out of touch much? Buffoon? And we'll get to that at 4 o'clock. Unbelievable to me, though. But we'll get Shaq and Charles to laugh about that stuff tonight. Shaquille O'Neal. And then he also referred to Kobe as having being a great culture builder. Hey, look, I'm a big Kobe fan. He's after Larry Bird, he's, one of my favorite basketball players of all time. I'm just totally down with Kobe. Love watching him play. Huge fan. But nowhere along the lines did I think that Kobe was a, quote, culture builder. Not even close. Because he had the curse of being so competitive and burning at such an octane that he couldn't be kind to his teammates. Kobe didn't care about culture. He just wanted to win. And if he felt like you were preventing that from happening, he was going to verbally murder you or physically assault you. Just like MJ. Not culture builders, great players, but Kobe was not a culture builder. Even Phil Jackson wrote a book explaining that. You just got to know what you're talking about, Dumont. Come on now. If you're going to trade Luka, don't sound like a buffoon when you get up in front of the microphone. It's crazy to me. What are we doing here? Are you kidding me? Whatever. All right. Elsewhere, a couple of different things. One, um, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers have parted ways. Not a surprise. My guess would be Aaron Glenn, the new head coach of the Jets. He took that job, but he also probably got the assurances that, hey, if I'm going to come in and do this job, I need to do it my way. Meaning, if I'm a new head coach and I'm getting my first chance to go, especially in New York, I don't want to be married to a situation where I've got to deal with a high maintenance quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't want that as a new coach. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers can't still play and won't be helpful to another team in the league, but I wouldn't want that if I was taking on a job as a new head coach. So the Jets and Aaron Rodgers have parted ways. And it's weird because the Jets don't have a quarterback. So they're willing to part ways with Rodgers, who numbers-wise had a pretty good year last year. It didn't result in wins, but he had good numbers. But they're willing to move on and not deal with the circus, even though they have no quarterback. That's interesting to me. But for Aaron Rodgers, the question is, where is he going to end up? And if you were a coach, general manager, or an owner, would you want to take on the baggage that comes with Aaron Rodgers, knowing that he could help you win? And the answer to that question, of course, is yes, because Rodgers can still play. I think it just has to be the right coach, the right fit, and a roster that's, ready to go. Now, the Raiders don't have a roster that's necessarily ready to go, but they have a veteran coach in Pete Carroll that's worked with some unique personalities over the year. They need some stability at that position as he lays down the foundation for what he's trying to accomplish. And the Raiders, like the Jets, have no quarterback. So it would make some sense to go to the Raiders. That's a possibility. I think the Colts would be a good fit because they need a quarterback and they've got a good roster. So we'll see where, Rodgers ends up. But I think there are teams out there that could utilize him. But most importantly, if you're Aaron Rodgers, and I like Aaron, I like watching him play, and I want him to come back. These guys, and we've talked about this before, but when you have a massive ego, much like Luka, and we'll talk about Luka in just a second. But for Aaron Rodgers, he went to the Jets, and he was trying to do it his way, and it blew up in his face and everyone else's face. It didn't go well. It resulted in an injury, and a lost season, a fired coach, and a disaster of a season. There's no way that Aaron Rodgers wants to retire with that black mark. So my guess will be he will come back for sure because he wants to have a chance to right the ship and to play well and win games and get back into the postseason. So there's no way he's not going to come back. His ego won't allow it. And to be a great quarterback, you've got to have some type of an ego. It's the same thing with Luka Doncic. My guess would be after what these idiots with the Mavericks have done by throwing him under the bus and leaking a bunch of nonsense, nonstop ever since the trade went down because they're getting grilled for it, and rightfully so. Their fans hate them because they're dumb and have traded away a top 3 player in the world. So they're leaking everything. It's amazing to me, but I would imagine for Luka, and this will disappoint me if he doesn't, he will be fully motivated now, being a top 3 player in the world, extra motivation to get into shape, chisel out the body, and go out there and try and dominate fools. And do it in a Laker jersey, and then drop the double barrel to the Mavericks ownership group that you guys are fools. You trade me away because you think I'm fat and I might have a drinking issue or I like to sip beers after a game for a guy who's never available because he gets hurt all the time. What? I mean, come on. It's crazy to me. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, there'll be motivation there. My guess would be coming off the Achilles injury. You get the 1 year under your belt. He's able to take some punishment, and he's probably got confidence that his body can do what he needs it to do now. I would expect Rodgers to play better this upcoming season as long as he gets into the right spot with the right fit, the right situation. That's my guess. That would be my guess. And then with the Saints, Kellen Moore, former Boise quarterback, just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as the offensive coordinator. He has taken over head coach of the Saints. He was non-committal at his introductory press conference on Derek Carr. I don't blame him. Why would you commit to Carr? Why not get into the position, see what's out there, evaluate, and then make a better choice on what you think the team needs instead of just locking yourself in or hitching yourself to Derek Carr? There might be a better option out there. And these coaches, they're not dumb. They understand that that decision and that situation is going to be critical, for their, job success moving forward. Same thing with Aaron Glenn. I'm a new head coach. I'm taking over the Jets. I don't want to deal with this circus of Aaron Rodgers right now. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Alex Brink coming up at 4:20, and then Holton on Hoops, Mike Holton in studio, talking to me at 5:20 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, I want to encourage everyone right now. We have our raffle going for ALS Northwest to help the families and those who are suffering from ALS. They're in need right now, and we have a chance to do something special. Mike Lynch, who was a colleague and worked with the Portland Trailblazers, he had to resign last year and step down because he was diagnosed with ALS and was unable to perform the functions of the job. And my grandfather passed away because of ALS, and I saw the way it really stricken his body over the years. I never heard him speak. He had to sit in a chair, could not move, and it's awful. But we've got a raffle going right now. It's going to continue for another, 25 days. And so if you go to our calendar page, you'll find the link right there for ALS Northwest raffle. Click on that, and you can buy raffle tickets. 400 tickets for $100, 100 raffle tickets for 50, 25 tickets for 25, or 5 tickets for 10. And even if you just want to spend buy 5 tickets and spend $10, every dollar is going to help. The big issue is the care that's required for those who have ALS. Insurance will cover some things, but then there's certain issues that pop up, like renovations for the home. It could be the need of a power wheelchair to be able to get around, having to redo the entryway into your crib so you can have better access for the person with ALS. There's a lot of things that pop up, and ALS Northwest helps these families who are in need by supplying them and helping with those gaps so that the people who are in need can be taken care of. And so you have a chance to help, and we're doing it with the raffle. So you got a chance to win some money and help out a very good cause. 400 tickets for 100 raffle tickets for 50, 25 for 25, or 5 for 10. So just go to the calendar page at ripcityradio.com, and you'll find the link for ALS Northwest raffle. Just click on it, buy some tickets, and help be a part of something special. And we'll announce the winner or the winning raffle ticket number coming up in March. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That's your telephone number. You can reach out to me on social at Chad and Rip City. And just a reminder, we've got the new iHeartRadio app. They redesigned it. It's really nice. But just a reminder that you can make 620 one of your presets. Every Trailblazer game is streamed via the app. So if you're inside your home and you're listening to Alexa, if you're on your phone, if you run Bluetooth through your car, wherever you're at, if you want to follow the Trailblazers, every game is streamed on the app, on the iHeartRadio app. So just keep that in mind as we continue throughout the season. It's a nice little tool to have. I find with my listening habits now, most of the stuff I listen to in my car, I just stream through the Bluetooth, whether it be the station or any other type of audio I'm listening to. I love the Bluetooth option. I think it's awesome. Love checking it out. Very good. So jump on that. But go to the calendar page at ripcityradio.com, and you'll find the link for ALS Northwest and the raffle to benefit those who are in need. It was inspired by Mike Lynch, and it's being powered by Coors Light, who's helping us with the entire project. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Alex Brink is going to join us coming up at 4:20. We'll talk football with him. And then Holton on Hoops at 5:20 as we get ready for All-Star Weekend. I think Michael is going to the All-Star game down in San Francisco. Have you been to an All-Star game? I have not been to an All-Star game yet. I've been hoping that Portland over the years would eventually get one. We've hosted the NBA draft, but we have been unable to get an All-Star game, which is particularly frustrating when Utah's been able to get All-Star games. But yet Portland hasn't. I would love to see one in town sometime soon. That would be my ultimate dream. Get an NBA All-Star game here, be good for the city, get a chance to see all the players all in the same place at one time. I think that would be great. But All-Star break is coming up. Not just a break for the players, but now I don't have to worry about a Trailblazer game for a week. But you could tell the team is a little bit gassed right now. Gassed and just banged up. You got guys who are, nursing sore knees or whatever the case may be. The All-Star break is nice because over the years it's expanded. It used to just be like 3 or 4 days, but now guys get an entire week off. They can take off on a little mini vacation. It gives them a chance to go back home and spend time with family. They can lay low and chill at their crib. For the players who are going to the All-Star game, it gives them a chance to be around some of the other, players and partake in some of the events. But what a great opportunity for a player to get a chance to get some downtime and then regroup for the final stretch. And you know how the final stretch goes. You have a few games in February, but then March is crazy busy. And then you've got that final week at the beginning of April where you play like 6 games in 8 days to finish out the year. It's crazy how quick it is, but the All-Star break is here. And we'll talk to Michael about that. I was just looking at the standings last night. So Cleveland, 5.5 games in front of Boston in the Eastern Conference, 8 games in front of the Knicks. And I would say that those are your 3 main teams, Cleveland, Boston, New York. But I don't think New York can win a series against Boston. I just think Boston's going to win the East. They're not playing their best right now, but I think they're coasting a little bit because they've won a championship. They did it last year. They know what it takes to get there, so they're not going to kill themselves trying to get to the postseason, and they're not concerned about having to go and take away home court from Cleveland. So I still like Boston in the East. In the Western Conference, Oklahoma City remains on top, and they'll finish with the number 1 seed. They're 8.5 games in front of Memphis. Denver right now is in 3rd. Houston, 4th, followed by the Lakers, who are a game behind them. Oklahoma City is the clear favorite. Denver's playing a lot better. They've won 8 straight, but defensively, I still have questions about them. And I do think the Lakers, I don't know if they can win the West, but depending on matchup, they've got a chance to make a deep playoff run now with Luka Doncic because they're going to be so dynamic on offense and so hard to deal with that they should be able to overcome some of their defensive deficiencies. Rebounding could be part of an issue as well. But stopping Luka and LeBron, who are now on the same team, on offense together, that's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But we're seeing this now over the last couple of years in the NBA. The Eastern Conference is a little bit different because you have, 1 or 2 real dominant teams, and the rest is just kind of flimsy after that. But the Western Conference is wide open. Oklahoma City, Memphis, Denver, Houston, and the Lakers, and you got the Clippers sitting there in 6th at 30-23. I mean, any one of those 6 teams at the top of the conference right now can make a deep run. I can make a case for it. But with Oklahoma City, I don't doubt them at all. I mean, they're the most complete team. They play great defense. They can score in a variety of different ways. They have an MVP candidate in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they, got knocked out last year, so they're gaining some of that experience which you need as a young team. And maybe it's a little bit different now. When I grew up, with teams in the NBA playoffs, you had to go through your lumps to get to a point to where you could win a championship. Maybe that's changed just a little bit, but it's almost like a refining fire where you would have to get to the postseason, battle, take a couple of defeats, and then learn how to win, and eventually you got over the hump. We saw that with Boston. We saw it with Detroit. We saw it with the Bulls with Michael Jordan. I mean, that was the process. You had to learn how to win in the postseason to be able to get the job done. I mean, the Utah Jazz was Stockton and Malone. It took years and years for that group that had won many games over a long period of time to finally figure out how to get to the finals. It was the same way with the Sonics, all those teams. Maybe the Thunder, after that experience last year, are going to be in a better position to advance. All right, when we come back, I got to play this crazy audio for you. And I'll reset the craziness of this Luka trade to L.A. because none of it makes sense. And you can't justify it. And then we'll hear from Alex Brink at 420. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's 4 o'clock chat here. The Trailblazers took the loss last night in Denver, and they finished the first half of their season. Nuggets get the win, 132-121, a career-high 55 points for Jamal Murray. For Portland, a number of guys stepped up with Grant Ayton and Scoot out of the lineup. 17.7 boards for Jabari Walker, and Donovan Clingan was awesome. 17 points and 20 rebounds. Coach Phillips on his play.
He gets rebounds that are not quite in his area. He goes out of his area to get these rebounds, which is not easy for a guy his size. He could just kind of sit there and wait till they fall in his lap, but he doesn't. You know, he gets rebounds outside of his area, which is a big deal.
It's All-Star break week now for the Blazers. They get 1 week off. Lakers will be in town a week from tonight at Moda. Scoot Henderson will not participate in the Rising Stars due to an ankle injury. Ayton will be reevaluated in 4 weeks with the calf strain. Michael Holton will join me in the studio for Holton on Hoops today at 5:20. I'm just waiting for the chorus. I like this song. Thing you dreamed about. All right, I want to get into this Lucas situation. We're going to hear from Alex Spring coming up in 20 minutes. Nice work with the music, Shacker. Michael Shacker right now is hanging out at Child Center getting ready for the Beavers and Pilots basketball game. So he is doing some double duty right now. Big props to Shacker. He braved the conditions, got to Child Center, and now he's rocking it. All right, so this whole trade, I'm fascinated by it for many different reasons because there's so many different tentacles to it. And I would imagine for you sports fans, even for some of you, ancillary fans. Like I know a lot of people like that they don't follow sports every day with every piece of news like I do. And I'm fine with that because most people have a life. I don't. And so people don't follow everything closely. But then something will happen, news will break, and someone will be like, what's up with that? And that's what's crazy about the Luka trade is that no one can understand it. The people that follow the game closely, who cover the league, the people who don't follow it closely and don't cover the league, ancillary fans, big-time fans, no one understands it because it doesn't make sense. And there's so many aspects to how this all went down that's just crazy to me. Let's just walk through some of the elements of this deal, Luka going to the Lakers. And then we're going to hear from this buffoon, Dumont, who's one of the owners, the principal owners now that Mark Cuban has sold to the Adelson family. So this is wild to me. But let's just walk back through some of the things that have been said ever since this deal went down. So first off, we knew the trade was bad because when Shams put out the information and reported it on social media, the trade was so bad that everyone thought that Shams, the best reporter in the game, had been hacked. And why did they think he had been hacked? Because the trade didn't make any sense. Wait, what? The Mavs are trading Luka for AD and a first-round pick, and that's it? It was so bad that people actually thought that Shams, the best reporter in the game, got hacked. So that's a great way to kick off the whole event. And then what I love, too, was Rob Pelinka, who looks kind of like Rob Lowe. He's very Hollywood. He showed up to the press conference after the deal was down, dressed like a budding musical star, getting ready for a concert. And I can understand why. It was a celebration for him because he just fleeced the Mavericks. Rob Pelinka dressed in the way that he was feeling in the moment. Loud and happy. Because he knew he just did something that no one thought could be done. He convinced Nico Harrison and the Mavericks to send him Luka Doncic and only ask for one future first in return. and an aging star in AD who's never available. You sure you want to do the deal? Yeah, I guess we could do that. Wait, you want to give us Luka for AD and 1 first-round pick? Well, I mean, if you really want to, I guess we can go through with that. Now, let me check with Jeannie. He couldn't wait to get it done. And he's probably the one that was like, hey, Nico, we got to keep this quiet, man. We don't want word to get out. Let's just, you and me, we can figure this out. Just you and me. No one else needs to be a part of this. Pelinka wanted it to be quiet because he knew if word got out, there'd be a revolt and the deal wouldn't get done. So he was dressed like some type of playa getting ready for a big concert. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, he was really decked out. And then you have all the nonsense, and I believe all of this is just a bunch of rubbish. Apparently, Jason Kidd, head coach of the Mavs, J.J. Redick, head coach of the Lakers, Rich Paul, who is LeBron's guy with Clutch, LeBron himself, and Anthony Davis. Apparently, none of those key players knew anything about the trade ahead of time. Are you kidding me? Like, if you truly believe that those guys didn't know about the trade ahead of time, you're crazy. Here, I have a bridge. I would like to sell it to you. My phone number is ... Of course they knew. I hate it when people try to insult our intelligence. So Jason Kidd, head coach of the Mavs, J.J. Redick, head coach of the Lakers, Rich Paul of Clutch, LeBron, and Anthony Davis knew nothing about the trade ahead of time. I mean, that's absolute garbage. And the reason why I know this is true is for a couple of different reasons. One, AD quickly waived his trade kicker and gave up $6 million in like 10 minutes. Now, why would he do that if he had no idea about the trade? He loves being in L.A. He's got a nice home there, but he had no issue with being blindsided and being dealt to Dallas, and he just waived the trade kicker. There's no way he would do that so quickly and without complaining unless he knew about it ahead of time. And the coach of the Mavs had no idea. So Nico didn't run it by Kidd just, to get his take on it ahead of time. He just surprised him with, hey, we dealt Luka, the top 3 player in the world who was your guy. He's gone. Or LeBron and Clutch. Do you really think the Lakers made that move without letting LeBron and Clutch know ahead of time? I mean, come on. They're heavily involved in everything the Lakers have done. Everything. But somehow they didn't know about this before it went down. And again, the reason why Pelinka was so supportive of keeping everything on the down low is because he knew he was about to fleece Nico. And if it had gotten out ahead of time, there would have been a massive revolt in Dallas with the Mavs fans, and the trade would have never gone down. There would have been a riot. I mean, Nico even said at the press conference that Kidd had no idea, but they were aligned. Well, how can you be aligned on something if you have no idea what the other person's about to do? So he had no idea, but somehow you knew that you were aligned on this situation. No, the reason why you were aligned is because you talked to him about it ahead of time. That's nonsense. I mean, you're going to trade Luka and get no input from the coach at all. Maybe you didn't think about walking him through it. I mean, of course they talked. And it's not like Jason Kidd's the most stand-up guy in the NBA anyways. Just look at his track record to get what he wants. There's no way they surprised him with this. And, of course, LeBron knew. It's crazy. All right, take a listen to this. This is Mr. Dumont at his press conference talking about why they made the deal. He also brought up this whole deal about moving the team to Vegas and said there's no truth to it. But listen to his tone and how foolish some of his statements are, and then we'll walk through it.
The Dallas Mavericks are not moving.
And by the way, how can a guy this rich and with so much power have a press conference where he sounds like he's talking to a tin can and with the technology they have access to? That's absurd.
The Dallas Mavericks are not moving to Las Vegas. There is no question in that. That is the answer unequivocally. The Dallas Mavericks are the Dallas Mavericks, and they will be in Dallas. We bought the Dallas Mavericks. We're keeping them in Dallas. We're committed to Dallas, and we're committed to our fans as the Dallas Mavericks, and that's where the team will stay. This is not in question. I'm not sure where this is coming from. I appreciate people asking it. Our family happens to live in Las Vegas, but we have investments all over the world. And the Dallas Mavericks is the team we bought. We had options to buy other teams in the past, but Dallas was the city that we wanted to be in. And that's where it's going to be. And look, we're going to invest in the future. We're going to invest in a new home for the Dallas Mavericks. We're investing in the community. We do charitable things in the community right now. We believe in the city of Dallas long term, and we believe in Dallas long term. So in my mind, the way teams win is by focus, by having the right character, by having the right culture, and having the right dedication to work as hard as possible to create a championship winning outcome. And if you're not doing that, you're going to lose. And if you look at the greats in the league, the people you and I grew up with, Jordan, Bird, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard every day with a singular focus to win. And if you don't have that, then it doesn't work. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be part of the Dallas Mavericks. That's who we want. I'm unwavering on this. The entire organization knows this. This is how I operate outside of basketball. This is the only way to be competitive and win. If you want to take a vacation, don't do it with us.
Patrick Dumont, ladies and gentlemen. How about him talking about Shaquille O'Neal and lumping him in with Michael and Kobe and Larry and Magic about having great work ethic? Are you kidding me? So he listed off multiple greats: MJ, Kobe, Magic, Larry, and he threw Shaq in there for good measure. Look, I love Shaq. I think you love Shaq. My mom loves Shaq. He's the big guy. He's funny, and he was a dominant big man. The big Aristotle. Shaq's cool, but no one on the planet ever accused Shaq of having a great work ethic. The reason why Kobe wanted to kill him and try to get him traded and eventually did was because he didn't work hard. No disrespect. Shaq knows it. He admits it. He didn't work hard. He didn't have to. He was Shaquille O'Neal. He was bigger than everybody else. He was not in the best of shape at all times. And it drove Kobe crazy. And he talked about culture. Look, I love MJ and I love Kobe. But they weren't exactly what I would call culture guys. They wanted to punch each other and their teammates because they only cared about one thing: winning. And if they felt like you weren't getting the job done or if you were in their way, they weren't worried about culture. They wanted to kick your ass. This DeMont guy is a complete buffoon. The other thing I love, too, is he mentioned those greats and talked about what it means to be a Maverick and what he's looking for. And he didn't even mention the guy with the statue in front of the arena down there in Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki, who is exactly the type of player he's looking for, and didn't even mention him. How out of touch are you, Patrick? Are you kidding me? Yeah, this is a bad trade. It's a bad trade, and there's a bunch of nonsense. I can't believe he didn't mention Dirk. And how can a guy like that get up there and have that type of press conference and no one mention anything about anything to him about what he needs to say? Hey, Patrick, don't take Shaq out. You don't want to reference him with hard work and work ethic. You don't want Shaq's name there. Don't talk about MJ or Kobe having, great culture building characteristics. And you need to get Dirk in there somewhere. There's got to be somewhere. There's got to be some type of guardrail for him not to sound like a moron. But my guess is, a lot of these owners, they're not real basketball people. It's just like, but talk to someone that is to make sure that Nico could have helped him with that. All right, let's keep things rolling. Football's next. Alex Brink, we'll get his take on the Super Bowl and what it's like as a quarterback when you know your guys can't block the team you're playing. What's the process when it gets sped up like for a quarterback? Because we saw it with Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 59. And then Michael Holton at 520. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive, and joining us once again is our college football and NFL insider, Alex Brink from E4 Sports, former Washington State Cougar. And Alex, let's start with this. How were the Eagles able to get pressure without one single blitz during the entire game?
Oh, it's a really good indication of the old saying, players over plays, right? I mean, you just saw that the Eagles' defensive line, I mean, really throughout the entire playoff run and to some degree during the season, is so dominant that, you know, you don't have to send extra people because they can win one-on-one matchups and sometimes beat double teams. And, you know, you're looking at, you know, feels like obviously the Georgia defensive line from a few years ago, plus a couple other really good players as well. And, you know, it's, I mean, they're a really talented group and showed up in a big way. And, you know, honestly, I think that the Chiefs O-line, and a lot's been made of this, was outmatched in some positions. Guys playing out of spots. They're young in places. And that showed up in the biggest way on probably in the worst possible moment for the Chiefs.
Yeah, no question. Mahomes looked terrible, which is bizarre because we're not used to seeing him look like that. He's normally on top of his game. Was it the early pressure from that defensive front by the Eagles that caused Mahomes to have the game that he did?
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, honestly, what it is, you think about when you're watching the game, right, with some of the camera angles, sometimes you get those back camera angles from behind Mahomes, like behind the quarterback. And, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't see a lot of open guys downfield either. And what that is in relation to is when you can rush four guys, right, only four guys, and stop the run and get pressure, right, you're dropping seven guys into coverage, often with two high safeties. And so there's just not enough bodies to get open downfield. And so it's this combination of, yes, the pressure, but also their ability to control the line of scrimmage in the run game and then drop everybody else into coverage, where honestly, Patrick Mahomes didn't look like he had a lot of open receivers throughout the night. I haven't gone back and watched the entire all 22, but knowing Mahomes, he would be more likely to pull the trigger if guys were getting separation. It's just hard to get separation when there's seven guys on the back end.
Yeah, it's true. You got seven to defend five, which gives the defense a major advantage. Now, walk me through this because you've been there before as a quarterback. How does it impact your process, and what are you thinking about when you know that your guys can't block the defense?
Your eyes start to come down. You know, you can see that with Mahomes, right? He's kind of quickly looking for, after his first read, his eyes go down to try and find his lane to escape. And, you know, the problem is occasionally you might miss a read. It also slows you down because, you know, that time it takes for you to look down, figure out where to go, move around. Again, a defensive line as good as them, they're bearing down on you the whole game. And so, you know, I think it's it takes your focus away from the downfield portion of the route concepts. And ultimately, you can tell that Mahomes was so uncomfortable as soon as he caught the ball. You know, he just didn't have a chance to stand in there and deliver. And you even think about the interception when they were backed up, right? He actually made a good decision, open receiver, and his left tackle is getting blocked back into, you know, getting bench pressed back into him and lands on his leg, and it affects the throw. So a lot of things out of Mahomes' control, while also understanding that as a quarterback, the ball leaves your hands last. You got to figure out a way to make it work.
Now, Brink, I always hesitate when I hear people talk about coaches making adjustments. I feel like that's over my pay grade, and I don't know exactly how many adjustments are made at halftime or not. But you've been there and done that, and you understand the game. Are there any adjustments that Coach Reid could have made to help, you know, mitigate the issues that his offensive line were having?
You know, I guess one of the things, you know, the space you go to immediately is, you know, can you try and establish a running game and get things going there? And part of that is obviously the offensive line was already struggling. I don't think, you know, Pacheco's a game breaker that can do it by himself. So it's got to be manufactured. And I'm not sure he was ever back to 100% after his injury, right? Yeah. Kareem Hunt's a good player, but better inside the red zone. And so, you know, I think they were limited in the running game, right? And Mahomes is not going to necessarily use his legs in the running game. It'll be off schedule. So in that regard, you know, the answer typically is trying to get into the screen game, try and get things going a little sideline to sideline to see if you can stretch the defense a little bit. And I did not feel like the Chiefs ever got to that or committed to some of that. And it could have been because the score started to get away from them a little bit. You know, could have been just because, again, you felt like the Eagles had, you know, two extra guys out there the whole night, so you didn't have the numbers. But I was surprised we didn't see more of the screen game, the kind of outside perimeter screen game, quick passing game to take the pressure, I think, off of Mahomes, that offensive line.
You know, Jalen Hurts looked pretty confident out there on Sunday. What did you think about his game?
He looks fantastic. I mean, if you think back to last week when you and I talked, Chad, my comments around the game were Jalen Hurts is going to have to win that game throwing good throw of the football at some point, right, on third downs and big plays and against pressure. And I wasn't sure if he could do it, candidly. And, boy, did he ever show up and do it in the best way possible, because he was lights out. I mean, there was – obviously some of the big throws, the touchdown under pressure to Devonta Smith. But, again, he had a couple third down throws where he's throwing the ball to the outside, out-breaking routes with blitzes in the space from defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. And as we know how difficult that is to play against, he wasn't rattled at all. And I thought he handled that pressure really well and was able to execute in big moments. And, again, the Chiefs kind of sold out to stop Saquon. And, committed a lot of guys to the line of scrimmage, and Jalen Hurts made him pay.
Yeah, I love talking to you and then watching it play out on the field, because your two key points going into the game were, number one, how would the Chiefs' front seven deal with Saquon Barkley in the run game? Well, they did a good job of executing and limiting his production. And then your other part about, Hurts, would he be able to move the chains through the air on key third down situations? And he did throughout the game, and that was, part of the reason for the success along with the defense. One more question about the Super Bowl. How much did it help Philadelphia? Saquon didn't have a big day, but they were committed to running the football, and they continued to give him the ball throughout the game. How much does that help just to have the threat of the run, even if you're not having great success in terms of bringing that balance to the offense?
Oh, and he was chipping away at it, right? He was getting, 3-4 yards of carry at times. Then he'd take a hit at the line of scrimmage or whatever it was. And, he ends up only averaging a little over 2 yards of carry, but the 25 carries, right, makes you feel like every time Saquon touches the ball, he's got a chance to go the distance. And so safeties start really getting antsy and coming up. Linebackers, our eyes are always in the backfield, and it allows you to play action pass. It allows you to do some things in the passing game, because everybody has to be worried that he could hit the big one, right? Everybody knows when you're playing Saquon Barkley, you can't take your foot off the gas. You can't assume that you're going to be able to control him with four guys at the line of scrimmage. You got to have more bodies. And so I think that's what that commitment to the running game, did.
We're talking with Alex Brink, former Coug with E-Force Sports. I want to ask you a question about E-Force and how you would apply it here. So the Jets are going to part ways with Aaron Rodgers, and I fully anticipate him to play again next year. But I want to know, because you guys work with high school athletes, college athletes, you work with pros. But if a guy like Rodgers at this stage in his career, so you have an aging superstar who still wants to play, if someone came to you in that state and wanted you to help them and work with them on their game to help prepare them for their next team, what would be the process of working with someone at that stage of their career?
Well, you got to figure out, right? And Aaron Rodgers may not be the best example, but I understand exactly what you're saying, in the sense that, there are these athletes that come along and they've been so successful for so long, but they reach a point in their career where they have to figure out how to do it maybe a little bit differently than they have in the past. And I think that's the answer. That's where Aaron Rodgers, right? That's the situation he's in. And so, there's a holistic way to approach that, right? With E-Force, it really is thinking about, how you approach your off season and your training, and your body's a part of it, but also the idea of how you stay healthy and how you're able, maybe to change your game in a certain way, right? Like you might have to change where your strength is and where your power comes from, because you just don't have it the same way, or you want to do it a little bit different. Or, if you're a quarterback, you're going to be really diving into, the film study and trying to figure out, all right, defenses have kind of figured this piece of my game out. For using Aaron Rodgers' example, he's coming off the injury. He's always been a relatively mobile quarterback that made plays off platform, and he just didn't have that this year, right? And so it'd be, are you going to have that in the future? And if not, how do you win without having that piece of your game? And you can think of it as with receivers and defensive backs the same way, right? You start to kind of lose a step, and you got to figure out, right, how you make that step up, whether it's the off-field mental aspect or it is actually a physical adaptation that you make. And I think that's the way we would approach it with E-Force.
All right, Alex, I want to ask you about the draft. It's not a deep quarterback draft this year. The top two quarterbacks will be Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward in some order. But I want to know from you, aside from the film and the football stuff, because you talk to these quarterbacks and you talk to coaches, what do you think are the most important things they're looking to learn and know about the player, aside from the football, before they make a decision on investing that type of money into a young QB?
Well, I'll tell you what, nowadays, I mean, and it should have been like this even more so before, but, there's going to be a lot more of the evaluation ahead of the film study and ahead of the player and what they do on the field before they even get to that, because there's so much money invested, obviously, at the quarterback position, and there's so many things that go into the dynamic of how, they fit with the team, how they're going to handle the limelight, how they're going to handle all the things that come with being in the NFL, because it is different. Even in the NIL area, it's different than college. It just flat out is, and the money is different, expectations different, and so they need to know. They're going to start with who the person is. What makes this athlete tick? Are they committed to the process? Do they like the lonely work, right? Do they like getting in the weight room and film study? Do they like doing that, right? You don't want to have a situation where you got to be checking up on your quarterback to make sure he's studying film instead of playing video games, right? And so you got to have these different things that you learn along the way. Then they're going to go and they're going to legitimately go and they're going to get on campus and talk to people in the building that are not coaches. They're going to go talk to professors. They're going to find out, was this kid coming to class? Was he on time? Was he there? Right. And even, now it's a little different because of NIL and some of these things that you may not be attending as much class as you used to, but it's about your interactions, because that speaks to how you're going to treat, one, your job, two, the players on the team, but also your respect for being in that position. So they're going to want to know all of that stuff, which seems like a lot. Here's the other thing that I would want to know. I would want to go back in the past of these athletes, and I would love to find out, what they were successful at outside of playing quarter baseball player, and did they have success at that? I want to know that. That means they're a competitor. That means they're trying. That means they win at what they do. Were they elite at playing the piano? Did they go and do something that's different? Those type of things speak a lot to the type of player and type of person somebody is, because it means that they can invest time and energy into something and really get a lot out of it. And I think that's kind of what I envision winners do and leaders do. And so that would be a big part of my evaluation also.
That's a great answer. Very interesting. How excited are you for next season and the Apple Cup being back on campus? It'll be in Pullman this upcoming season.
Sure. I mean, I'm incredibly excited. I mean, I think the last year was quite the departure, obviously, from having a quote-unquote neutral site game at Seahawks Stadium, but it was in Seattle. So that was what it was. It's going to be great to have it back in Pullman. You're going to be able to play it early, kind of get a good start to the Jimmy Rogers era at Washington State. And, a chance, really what the Apple Cup is becoming specifically for Washington State is when you play it early in the year, it's a great barometer for who you are as a team and as a program. And it kind of gives you, like it did last year, gives you some momentum into the season, right? Because Washington State doesn't have the same schedule it used to have in the old Pac-12, playing that game against Washington gives them that national game early in the season. They get people saying, oh, okay, Washington State's pretty good, just like it did last year.
I wanted to ask you about two quarterbacks. Carson Beck is going to Miami. What do you think about that move in terms of how it could help, reestablish his draft position?
Well, I think Carson Beck, I think there's an opportunity there because Carson Beck definitely didn't, the way that the season finished at Georgia, it really affected his draft stock. I think he didn't put his best foot forward for a number of reasons, right? It's not always all on the quarterback, but in the end, he wasn't going to be a high draft pick in that scenario. And so going to Miami gives him a chance to hopefully kind of reinvent himself a little bit. He's got to show that he can be a consistent in-the-pocket passer that can win games, I think, with his arm when the biggest games, I guess, when things are on the line. And that's, it's something that you've seen from guys here in recent history is that, and some of the guys at the top of this draft is they've had some big moments, right? And they've kind of done it themselves. And that's important in the NFL. You got to show that you can carry your team. I think Carson Beck at Georgia did not show that. He showed that he could kind of ride along the wave with the team. And then he had some issues of his own. So I think going to Miami gives him a chance to show that he can lead it and win it. Not on his own, but be the kind of primary straw that stirs the drink sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he's gonna have to show it because he didn't put some great things on tape this last season.
And then finally, Arch Manning at Texas, his era will begin. What are you going to be watching for with his game as he kicks it off at Texas?
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see kind of like what he is as a player, right? Because when he came out of high school, he had some physical maturity that he needed to go through, and I think he has, right? He looks, he definitely looks the part now. But what's his game going to be? Because when you think about Quinn Ewers, right? Quinn Ewers was elite arm talent, really dynamic, high confidence player, decent athlete, but Quinn was going to kind of win or lose, die by the sword, win by the sword, die by the sword, right? In the way that he attacked downfield. And with Arch Manning, is he going to be that same aggressive type of player throwing the football? Is he going to be more in command, like you would expect a Manning to be, right? I don't want to put that label on him, but it is what it is. We've also seen his athleticism a little bit. So how do his legs get involved? So for me, it's who Arch Manning is going to be as a player at the collegiate level, at a high level. Because we don't really know that yet in the backup time. We've seen a little bit, but what's he going to be from start to finish?
All right, E4 Sports. Right now, you guys are entering into this off-season football program. What are some things that you're doing at E4 to assist those football players?
There's so many great things, happening at E4 Sports right now. I mean, first and foremost, if you're a football athlete, really any athlete, being able to get into our strength and conditioning program, our performance training for speed, strength, injury prevention, quickness, power. I strongly recommend that. That's at 3 different locations here in the metro area of Vancouver, Beaverton, and Milwaukee. All 3 facilities offer group classes, customized programs. But for football athletes specifically, we have an awesome program for skill development, whether you're a lineman or, you're a wide receiver, defensive back, quarterback. Check out e4sports.com. Click on the football tab. You'll see all the things that we offer, camps, clinics, position-specific training. We obviously offer 7-on-7 team, and even some 5-on-5 lineman training. So a lot of opportunities out there for football athletes to get better between now and August 1st.
All right, Brink, enjoy your snow day with the boys, and we'll catch up soon. As always, I love talking with you.
Yeah, we're going to go do some sledding right now. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, big thanks to Alex Brink for joining us. It is a snow day. I drove in today. A lot of times I like to get out and see how the roads actually compare to what's being said on the news and thus forth. I made it from North Vancouver all the way into town with no issue. No problem. Some of the side streets are a little bit dicey, but the freeways are fine. So if you got to go somewhere or be somewhere, I think you're going to be okay. Just take it slow and you should be good. But I am the only living person that's currently inside the building here at iHeart Portland. Everyone else is gone. No one. Shacker's at Child Center, and no one else is in the building right now. Not that surprises me. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Michael Holton going to join me for Holton on Hoops coming up at 5:20. Your telephone number 503-248-0620, and you can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. And we get a week off of basketball, All-Star Weekend coming up, and the Blazers will be back in action next Thursday with the Lakers in town. You get a chance to see Luka and LeBron together at Moda Center. That's cool. All right, you got the Rip City Drive. All right, this would be an example of feeling old. LeGarrette Blount Jr. just posted a Twitter message saying, blessed to receive my second D1 offer from North Carolina. And of course, his dad played for Bill Belichick when he was with the Patriots. I didn't even know LeGarrette had a son. I remember LeGarrette playing at Oregon, and now he's got a son who is accepting D1 offers from places like North Carolina. My goodness, where's the time gone? Oh, Miranda has chimed back in and heard from her in a while. She said, Dear Skunk Vomit, good afternoon, Mr. Doing. So your hot take is that Luka and LeBron together is cool? Scintillating. If listeners were to send you an easy bake oven, would you please put your head in it? I mean, I could try that. I actually remember, I think it was my cousin Becky, or maybe it was Kimberly, wanting the easy bake oven. I cannot remember if we tried to make something in that or not. But yes, Miranda, if someone sent me an easy bake oven, I would try to stick my head in it. I wasn't saying that Luka and LeBron being cool at Moda or seeing them would be cool. It wasn't meant to be a hot take. I just meant, is it going to be cool? I suddenly have a lot more interest in watching the Lakers play because, as you know, Miranda, I'm not a big LeBron fan. So I don't like to go out of my way to make myself watch Laker games. But now with Luka, I'm intrigued because I want to see how those two will fit together long term. I think it's going to work. Much like, think about it's so easy to look at a situation and say, well, there's only one ball. How are all these guys going to get shots? Remember that when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors? No one thought it would work because you had Steph and KD and Klay Thompson and all these guys who were legitimate scorers. There's only one basketball. People are going to get frustrated. But it worked out really well. They were a dominant team and won championships. It was very easy to say, well, how can Kyrie and Luka work together? Two guys who both need shots, and they can't play defense, and yet they found a way to get it done and get to the NBA Finals. Now, they fell short against Boston, but they got there. And I do think that Luka and LeBron will play well together. The majority, or I think the first take when you see those two guys together or when you heard about the trade go down, it's like, well, how's that going to work with Luka and LeBron? Now, of course, the Lakers made the move because they weren't worried about this year. They're thinking long term. They want the succession plan to LeBron James. And they've got it in Luka, who's not even in his prime, and they're set for the next decade with a big-time star, which you need in that town because people have options for entertainment. If you're the Lakers, and this is something the great Dr. Jerry Buss understood, you need stars, and you have to have a reason for people to show up. And that's why the Showtime Lakers were so, terrific. They were must-see. And there's a lot of Laker fans in that town. But I think Luka and LeBron, even though they both, high usage rate, they need the basketball in their hands. That's the way they're used to playing. What I've found is with these smart basketball players, even guys who need the ball in their hands, when you get two guys like that who are high-level, high IQ basketball guys, they'll figure it out. They'll find a way to make it work on the floor together at the same time. The great thing is for LeBron, he can have extended stretches now and know that he's got a guy in Luka who can run the show and handle the rock and set up the teammates and so forth. Offensively, they're going to be dynamic. They're going to draw so much attention. It's going to open up the game for guys like Austin Reeves and Rui to get open looks, and I can't wait to watch it. Defensively, they're not going to be great, and rebounding could be a bit of an issue. I know they got Alex Len, but he hasn't exactly played a ton of basketball over the last several years in the NBA. So, yeah, I'm excited to see it, and I think it's going to be cool to see those two at Moda Center together. So I'm sorry that was not a scintillating take. My apologies, Miranda. But we'll get that a week from tonight. Lakers are going to be in town. The Blazers, 3 straight losses following the 6 straight and 10 of 11 going into the All-Star break. The other big question I have with the last part of the NBA season after the All-Star break, what are the Blazers going to do with their roster? Is it going to be similar to what we've seen the last couple of years where they're going to shut a bunch of guys down and really go with the youth movement? Is that going to happen? Or is it going to be primarily the young guys who are playing well, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Denny, and Tamani, playing and getting a ton of minutes with a reduced role for Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons? My guess would be we'll see a reduced role down the stretch from Grant and Simons, but you'll get those key 5 guys on the floor and playing a lot, so they can continue the development and continue to learn how to play with one another. The starting five I'm most excited about and what I would like to see an extended stretch of at some point during this last part of the season. Scoot Shaden, backcourt, Klingon at center with Denny and Tamani at the forward spots. Those are the five guys I really want to see play together a ton. So they can develop more chemistry, they can continue to improve as individuals, and so the Blazers can have as much data and information going into the offseason to know exactly what they have and what they need to get. And they can address that in the draft and, of course, through the free agency period and with whatever other trades they're able to execute during the summertime. But those five guys, that's going to be fun to see how those guys play together, how they continue to develop, and more importantly, to see Scoot and Shaden featured in the backcourt together on the floor at the same time. The good thing is we've seen improvement from all five guys. Denny and Tamani have been the team MVPs this year. Klingon's been terrific over the last couple of games, and we've seen improvement from Scoot, significant improvement over the last month, and then throughout the year, Shaden has shown flashes of brilliance. And he's also had, a couple of dry spells. He got benched recently because of the defense and not being where Chauncey Billups wanted it to be. But for me, the biggest thing with Shaden is passiveness. Don't be passive. Attack, look to take over, be aggressive, because he's got the capabilities to be that type of guy. And so I want to see him really attack like that. That's all. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Michael Holton coming up at 5:20. And I'll give you some insight from last night in Denver where Jamal Murray dropped a double nickel on the Blazers. But Donovan Klingon emerging and playing great the last couple of games, and he was dominant last night. And I've got a stat from the Trailblazers to support that as well. All right, Rip City Drive Chad doing 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your snow day. Keep it locked in here, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, last night the Blazers fall in Denver, but Donovan Clingan, 17 points, 20 rebounds. Coach Billups on his play.
He gets rebounds that are not quite in his area. He goes out of his area to get these rebounds, which is not easy for a guy his size. He could just kind of sit there and wait till they fall in his lap, but he doesn't. You know, he gets rebounds outside of his area, which is a big deal.
Blazers will now get a week off for All-Star break. The Lakers will be in town 1 week from tonight. Scooter Henderson will not participate in the Rising Stars Challenge due to the ankle injury. DeAndre Ayton with a calf strain. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. We'll talk with Michael Holton at 5:20. Clayton Kershaw back with the Dodgers next year. Says he didn't feel like it was the right time to retire. And Kellen Moore introduced as the new head coach of the Saints. He was non-committal on Derek Carr as quarterback. More of the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing coming at you right now. All right, Michael Holton going to join me coming up in 20 minutes. Want to get his take on the Trailblazers and where they sit going into the All-Star break. I made my way into town today. Woke up to snow like the rest of you did. And coming down I-5 southbound from North Vancouver, there was a mess in Hazeldale, so I had to take the back roads and re-enter on to I-5 at 39th Street. But the rest of the way was pretty clear. So if you're out there, if you got to go out and head out, the freeways, at least in my experience, were no issue, and the side streets were a little bit messy, but like any of these type of days, if you take it slow and are cautious, I think you're going to be fine. You know, it's never as bad as the news makes it sound like, but, you know, it's been worse out here before, but today's not so bad. So if you got to be out and about, no problem. I don't know why my daughter's school decided to have school today, only to shut it down 2 hours after the fact. That was a bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. So here we are. I am here. I'm the only one in the building and trying to put together some radio for you. The Blazers last night in Denver against the Nuggets, and Jamal Murray went crazy. 55 points, double nickel, and the Nuggets get the win. What impressed me with the Trailblazers in the loss was the way they continued to fight. There were a number of guys who didn't play last night. Jeremy Grant and Robert Williams III with knee soreness were out. Scoot Henderson's got the sprained ankle. He's out. I would expect him back next Thursday. So there were guys out of the lineup. So we saw a lot of young guys get a chance to play. Donovan Clingan got the start at center. Chris Murray added to the starting lineup. Shaden Sharp came off the bench. And the young Blazers who got a chance to play played well. And most importantly, they continued to battle. 17.7 rebounds from Jabari Walker, who I thought, and I think he continues to do a good job of, and that's to keep himself ready to play. He puts in a lot of time, and, you know, he never knows when he's going to get the call, but he produced last night. I thought he was terrific. The coaches love Chris Murray because he's always in the right spot and does what they ask him to do, so they don't have to tell him twice. That's how he got the nickname Mr. Perfect. And I thought the Blazers continued to fight. Even when the game nearly got away from them a couple of times, they had put together some numerous runs to get back into it and cut it to single digits. They just didn't have enough firepower to get over the hump last night. And that's going to happen when you play in Denver against one of the hottest teams in basketball. 8 straight wins for the Nuggets, and they're starting to come together. I don't know if they're going to be good enough defensively to make a deep playoff run, but when you have Jokic and Jamal Murray and the rest of their guys locked in and executing the way that they do with their movement and the way they share the basketball, they're tough to defend. Really tough. And Jokic is a freak. And Jamal Murray last night just had one of those special nights where whatever he put up went down. 20 of 36 from the floor. He made 7 of 15 from 3. The most exciting part for the Trailblazers was the play of Donovan Clingan. He had 17 points and 20 rebounds, and Coach talked about his effort after the game.
Yeah, we need all of them. We really do. DC is a really good offensive rebounder. When he gets his hand on it, he is his. He's done a really good job of that. He's established that early in his career already. To rebound that much, you got to be active. And he gets rebounds that are not quite in his area. He goes out of his area to get these rebounds, which is not easy for a guy his size. He could just kind of sit there and wait till they fall in his lap, but he doesn't. He gets rebounds outside of his area, which is a big deal, and he's doing a better job of finishing around the basket.
All right, so that game last night for Klingon, a career-high 20 rebounds at Denver. He's the first Trailblazers rookie with 20 or more rebounds in a game since April 7th of 1985. Want to take a guess at who the other player is? Sam Bowie. So he's the first Blazer rookie with 20 or more rebounds in a game since going all the way back to 1985 with Sam Bowie. So a great effort from Donovan Klingon. And most importantly, we saw in the last couple of games where he's had extended minutes, better finishing around the rim. He's one of those guys who, his positioning is good. He's a really smart basketball player, and he's got a relentless effort when it comes to rebounding. He's top-notch, big time. And he's only going to get better with more time. And the good news is for the Blazers, he's going to get an extended run the rest of the way. DeAndre Ayton's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks, which means he won't be ready to play in 4 weeks. And at that point, the season will be close to over. So we may or may not see Ayton again. But what that means is that Klingon's going to get plenty of run. The other center is Robert Williams III, and they're not going to use him for big minutes. So Klingon will get the majority. We're going to see more 30-plus minute games from Klingon, and a great chance for him to continue to work on his game. Great shot blocker, great rebounder, but he can continue to get a chance to work on, that finishing around the rim, close to the basket, getting a chance to go up against good players like Jokic. That whole experience is going to be great for him. And then, you can add him into the mix with Scoot, Shaden, Denny, and Tamani to really work on and ramp up that improvement that we've seen from the other four. Klingon's played well in spot minutes. He just hasn't played a lot of minutes so far this year. So I'm excited for him. That's going to be great. Coach was also asked if, last night's game was much more competitive than the 29-point loss that they suffered Monday. And Coach was asked if last night was more indicative of who they are compared to what we saw Monday in Denver.
This is a game that could have really, really got out of hand. You look at Jamal, and he's on fire out there, and then Joker just has a modest 26, 15, and 10, where you spend 2 days and nights trying to see if we can stop him. He had 40 and 3/4 the other day, and then Jamal goes crazy. It could have got way, way out of hand. And it has before. We've seen it. But these guys just fought, man. They just fought their butts off, and I'm proud of that, and we played the right way. For the most part, we were getting crushed on the glass in the first half. We come back and, close the gap there, which allowed us to have opportunity, and everybody that played just played extremely hard.
They did. That was a good effort. I really like what he talked about, how the guys who played, the young guys, continue to fight. They could have lied down and gotten rolled last night when Murray was on fire, but they continued to fight. And they put themselves in a position they just didn't get over the hump. They couldn't. Also, Coach asked about if he's happy with where the group is at right now as they enter the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we are right now. Obviously the injuries don't make me feel very good, and I hope that we can lick our wounds a little bit, over the break, and we need the break. We all do. Some need a little time away from each other, but that's just what the break is all about. But I am, Sean, I'm happy with where we are as a group, as a team. Our young guys continue to take steps, and I loved these couple games right here for DC. I thought he was excellent, and he's gotten himself back to where he was when he was playing at a pretty high level early before he got injured.
One more thing from Coach, talking about the loss itself.
This game, and it was a tough first half for us. Man, we came out of that locker room in that second half and really gave it all we had. We really did. I'm so proud of these dudes. This is a game that, in December or November, that could be a 40-point loss there, but our dudes fought their butts off. And I was just so happy for him. I was happy for Donovan. I thought he was excellent in the game. And, all of our guys, really, they all just fought really hard. They really did.
All right. So I'm happy with where they're at. They've already exceeded last year's win total. They're probably out of the running for Cooper Flag unless they get a gift from God. But you draft players, you acquire players, you get young talent, you develop them, and you want to see them improve and produce. And they've done that. With the 5 young guys, we've seen improvement from all of them. Tamani's been sensational. Denny's been terrific. Klingon in the minutes like we just talked about has shown improvement from the beginning of the year up until now. And we're seeing improvement with both Scoot and Shaden. Now, they're not where they need to be, but we're seeing them move in the right direction. So props to the coaching staff for doing a good job of development. I guess my question would be, if you don't get Cooper Flagg, what's the plan to be able to land that true number one? My guess is, based on what I see right now, they may not have the number one, the alpha on the team yet. They may not. Maybe Shaden can be that guy. Maybe it's Scoot. But right now, it doesn't appear that they have that, but they have 5 great pieces to go with the alpha. The question is, where do you find that guy? It's probably the draft, but will you be in a position to get that type of player? So that's going to be the big question moving forward. And then, of course, they've got veterans that will have to be moved. Hopefully they can get busy during the summertime, but that's kind of where they're at right now. So what am I looking for the rest of the year? Increased minutes for Donovan Clingan, which we know we're going to get, and just continued work and improvement of those 5 guys. And then you can throw in Jabari, Rupert, and Murray to continue to get them some run and see what they could possibly be. But the 5 key players are Scoot, Shaden, Clingan, Tamani, and Denny, because those 5 are a part of the future. So they got to continue to work, continue to practice, and regardless of result, I'm not worried about the wins and losses. I just want to see the improvement, the development. Yeah, that's it. But I like where they're at. I mean, just look at where Scoot's at today compared to where he was at the start of the year. And then with Shaden, it's been weird because he's had flashes early in the year of greatness, and then he, gets quiet for a bit, and then he pops back and shows more flashes of greatness. It's just a bit of a inconsistent line for Shaden, but he's got the talent and the ability to be fabulous. So there you go. That's where we're at. So, and I think Coach Billups has done a good job. But I think the work, no one believes that he's going to be back next year. And, the Blazers have not picked up that final year option on his contract. But I think with the development of the young guys and the improvement they've shown this year and exceeding the win total, exceeding expectation, he's put himself in a position to where he's going to be able to get another job, which is cool for him because he's taken on a lot of losses here with the direction of the franchise and what they've tried to do with the rebuild. So I think he's worked himself into being able to get another job. And I like Chauncey, so that's cool. But the most exciting part for me is just those young players, watching them develop and see where they can get to before the end of the year. And there's still plenty of basketball left. It's going to end quickly because once we get into March, the games come fast. And then before you know it, it'll be the first week of April and the season will almost be over. But plenty of games left and a lot of opportunity for the young guys to continue to play and develop, and we'll see how things shake out. But it's been fun. I like watching the young guys develop and get better. And that's been the key part, because when you draft high, especially guys like Shaden, Clingan, Scoot, when you take them near the top of the first round, that you need those guys to hit. It's pretty important. All right, coming up next, we'll talk with Michael Holton, little Holton on Hoops here on the Rip City Drive. We'll get his take on where the young guys are at, what he thinks the plan will be for the rest of the year, and we'll keep things rolling. Hope you're enjoying your snow day. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, joining us right now, once again, former Trailblazer, current radio and television analyst. It's Holton on Hoops Time with Michael Holton. Hey, Coach, I appreciate the time, buddy. You enjoying the snow day?
Oh man, yeah, I got out there for a couple of minutes and realized that I didn't have anything to prove and came back home.
I don't blame you, man. You're smart. You are keeping it safe, and I got no issue with that. You know, Coach was really happy with the team's effort last night. A lot of young guys got a chance to play. There were a couple of times where it looked like the game was going to slip away with Jamal Murray on fire, but yet they continued to battle. Would you agree with that assessment from Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the guys that played hard and played well and made progress from the previous game against Denver. I really just tried to put the two games up against each other and then evaluate how the team responded. And the team was better defending the paint, better on the glass. I mean, across the board, I thought the Blazers played better. It's just that Jamal Murray took his game to another level.
Yeah, he was sensational last night. Look, I don't know what Denver's going to be this year in the postseason, but I really like the way they're playing right now. They're so tough to defend when they're moving the ball the way that they do.
Yeah, well, whenever you have a big man that's a walking triple-double and he's able to score in a variety of ways, but he's a capable and willing passer. See, the thing about Jokic is that you pay for every double team. You pay for every defensive mistake when he's on the floor. And then he's so durable. I mean, his availability is the amount of minutes he plays. I mean, that just really contributes to them being real consistent.
You know, throughout the year, you've talked to me about Donovan Clingan. You like his positioning and his willingness to defend. He's been a good shot blocker. But, last night, 17 points, 20 rebounds, 10 of those were on the offensive glass. What did you think about his performance and the effort he had rebounding-wise?
I just thought he really punched the clock. I mean, he worked hard. He was effective. 10 offensive rebounds is a big number. I mean, that's a huge number. So for him to extend possessions like that is such a plus. And, I thought it kept the Trailblazers from having some scoring droughts. I mean, because he was able to give them an opportunity to get another look. And that was very impactful in the game.
And what's the key? The last couple of nights, he's been much better at finishing around the rim. What are the key things for Clingan or any big to continue to improve in that department?
Balance. I mean, the physicality of the NBA game is so different than college. And so I think what's happening with Donovan is he's starting to realize, okay, I don't really know how to initiate contact yet, but I do know how to play through contact by bending my knees and having good balance. Then the other thing that he does extremely well is he extends his hands above his head. And that's why he's such a good rebounder. He doesn't bring the ball down. When the shot goes up, his hands go up. And he's not a guy that wastes the dribble. He's not a big guy that wastes the dribble to get to a crouch to be on balance. He's able to just kind of pivot and extend and elevate.
We're talking with Michael Holton on Hoops here on the Rip City Drive. I've had a number of fans reach out to me. They were just curious as to why Coach Billups started Chris Murray instead of Shaedon Sharpe last night with multiple guys, Grant, Ayton, Scoot, out of the lineup. You were a coach and you understand what he's trying to accomplish. Why put Murray in the lineup instead of Shaedon?
I can take a stab at it, but, you got to be kind of in the locker room and in those coaches' meetings probably to totally understand it. But the stab at it I would take is that the decision to move Shaedon to the bench was a significant decision. And when you do that and you're resetting the trajectory of a player, like Shaedon Sharpe, right? Future star in this league, future star probably for this franchise. You don't want to be herky-jerky with that. And because of somebody else's availability or lack of availability, now take him out of that role for a game and then maybe put him back in that role. So I think there was some consistency and continuity that went into that decision. And I think the evaluation of Shaedon Sharpe coming off the bench is ongoing.
Well, isn't it easy as a coach when you have a player like Chris Murray who's been described by Coach Billups as Mr. Perfect? They don't have to tell him something twice. He's in the right position. He works hard. He does what they ask him to do. I mean, as a coach, isn't it nice to have a guy like that you can trust and you know what you're going to get from him when you use him in different roles?
Yeah, no. Again, you as a coach, what you want is consistency. And then you want role identification. You want to know what guys are going to give you every night. And with Chris Murray, Chauncey Billups knew, okay, if I put Chris in the game and this is the game plan, this is what I know we're going to get. And so that makes him a comfortable selection. Really, anytime you're making a decision about your rotation.
Now, Coach, going back to Klingon for just a moment, he's going to get many more minutes to play, like we saw last night with 8 now the lineup, the rest of the way. So, what are going to be the biggest challenges for Klingon as he adjusts to getting more minutes on the floor?
Conditioning. I mean, clearly, when you watch him play, he's a guy that can play hard through fatigue, but fatigue is still a consideration with Donovan Klingon, in my opinion, when I watch him play. Now, they were in Denver, the Mile High City.
Yeah.
He is coming back from, injury and getting himself rounded, quote unquote, back into game shape. So I think you got to be careful all of a sudden making him a 30-plus minute guy, as a rookie. But those aren't decisions I make. You and I just looking at it from a distance.
Yeah.
I don't think the response to DeAndre Ayton being out is going to have the Trailblazers play Donovan Klingon 35 minutes. I think you're going to see a variety of lineups. You're going to see small ball. You're going to see Jabari Walker. You might see DeWalt Brees. You'll see the organization try some different things, I think, before they overextend the minutes of Donovan Klingon.
Well, you played a different position, but how difficult was that when you were a rookie, just adjusting to the NBA grind and the demand on your body?
No, it was a lot because, for a weird set of circumstances, I started 59 games my rookie year. Walter Davis got hurt. I was a starter basically my rookie year. And I remember getting to that 50-game mark, that 60-game mark, and just physically not understanding what was going on with my body, going to bed, sleeping 10 hours, waking up still feeling tired, not being able to shake it off, right? And that's what they refer to as the rookie wall, right? Yeah. Because at that point, you've played 2 college seasons, and there's still 20 games to go. I mean, there's a mental challenge when you're a rookie and you're in the rotation that is just as significant as the physical challenge of playing against the best players in the world night in and night out.
You mentioned Jabari Walker. He played really well last night. I was mentioning earlier that I noticed during home games this year, like he comes out after the game and works with a few guys on some different things, including his shot. And I just thought he played really well last night, 17 points, 7 rebounds. He doesn't know when he's going to get the call, but I like the way he keeps himself ready, and he made an impact last night.
Yeah, he did. And I would suspect that with Ayton out, that Jabari Walker becomes a rotation player. And I think he's displayed that he's capable. He's capable of being a small ball 5. He's capable of playing 4. He's capable of being physical. He's kind of cut from that cloth like, Denny Avdia and Tamani when it relates to being a tenacious defender and physical. And the team needs that.
Coach was asked after the game if he's happy with where the team is at going into the All-Star break. I wanted to ask you that question. What's your overall assessment on where the team is at as they enter the All-Star break, getting ready for the final stretch?
Well, I think the team has achieved a few key things this season. One is the development of the young guys. I mean, I think we've seen everybody, Scoot, Shade, and you can go down the list. We've seen development. We've seen that progress. The other thing is I think we've seen this team get better defensively, and that was always a goal, for this team to be more consistent on the defensive end. And I think we've seen the game plan discipline on that end, particularly through the winning stretch. We saw some very impressive defensive performances.
Yes.
And that's the personality that Chauncey wants for this team.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'm hoping at some point in that final stretch that we'll be able to see Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, and Denny start a game or two. That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I kind of am not holding my breath for what's going to happen down the stretch. And that's just because the last 2-3 seasons down the stretch, player availability became such a challenge.
Yeah.
And I don't want to predict that, but I just don't know, and you and I have talked about it. The most important ability is availability. If guys go down, DeAndre Ayton, if he's out, going to be reevaluated in a month. Well, that means when he would be able to come back, there'll be a month left in the season. And what does that look like in terms of the organization's decisions about what they're putting on the floor? So, I do want to see the young guys continue to make significant steps forward, individually and collectively.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, as an analyst, so the next game up will be the Lakers, Luka and LeBron on the floor together. What are you going to be watching for with those two guys together on the floor to see what they can or cannot accomplish?
I'm going to be watching to make sure that our guys aren't watching. Because, sometimes when you play with icons or against icons in the game, you kind of get starry-eyed a little bit. I mean, I had a chance to play 31 games with Jordan. And there were a couple of possessions where I was like, man, And so, I just hope that our guys are able to stay focused on the game plan because, Chad, and you and I are going to experience it too watching the game. When you look at Luka Doncic and LeBron James on the floor at the same time, you're watching something historic.
Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait to see it. All right, take us behind the curtain for a moment. You're in Chicago. Michael Jordan's your teammate. What was it like being in the locker room, like before the game or at practice? What was MJ like? What type of aura did he have?
Too much. He had too much aura. I mean, MJ cussed me out in the locker room. We were playing the Atlanta Hawks, and I had a high school buddy in town, and he asked me if I could get something signed by MJ. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get that done for you, man. No problem. MJ's cool. I asked MJ before the game to sign it, and he cussed me out. Get away from me. Sorry, MF. I mean, he berated me like no human being has ever berated me, right?
Wow.
And so I went and sat in my locker, and I was kind of thinking about, do I really want this job or do I need my manhood to be preserved in this moment, right?
Wow.
But it got worse than that, Chad, because all of the guys on the team came over and kind of put their hand on my shoulder and said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be all right." The pity was worse than the insult.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
So what I didn't know as a new teammate of Michael Jordan is that you don't talk to him before the game. From when he gets off the bus to the opening tip, he's quote-unquote in the zone.
Yes.
Of preparation and competition. There's no small talking, laughing, and joking in that space, and I didn't know it.
Yeah. Well, you learn from that moment, and then you ask for the autograph after the game.
No, I did not ask for the autograph after the game, because after the game, I was still thinking about taking a swing at it.
That's amazing. All right, I'm excited for you. You're going to be hitting the All-Star game this weekend down in San Francisco. What's the game plan? When are you taking off?
Yeah, I'm going Saturday morning, and I'm scrambling trying to get a ticket to the Rising Stars game. I've got a ticket to the All-Star game, and so I'm trying to kind of, be the fan that struggles and scrapes and claws because I want to see the Rising Star game. I'm a basketball analyst, but I'm also a basketball fan, and I want to see all of the events, right?
Yeah.
I mean, particularly the Rising Stars game and the All-Star game. The three-point contest and that other stuff, not that important to me. But anything that involves player-to-player competition, I want to see.
Have you been to an All-Star game before, Michael?
I have been to a few of them. When I was a Blazer, the All-Star game was in Seattle. And I remember driving up as a Blazer, seeing the All-Star game, and what stood out to me was Dr. J. Dr. J addressed the crowd, and he had a word for all of the players to build their teams off the floor. He said, get a good agent, get a good bookkeeper, get a good lawyer, and nowadays, get a good nutritionist. He talked about building your team so that you could be a pro playing at the top of your game for as long as possible.
Oh, that's awesome. I think Tom Chambers won the MVP that year. What was the Rookie Symposium like when you came into the NBA? What type of help did they have for young guys to set them up for success off the floor?
Well, the money wasn't like it is today, so you didn't have the financial literacy stuff. And in back in that day, it really was more of an alerting you what to stay away from, the trials and tribulations of the road, because there weren't charter planes then. You stayed over in towns, and so you were going to be in restaurants and clubs. And so really I just felt like the Rookie Symposium was a fear. It scared me to death.
Of what to look out for. Well,
yeah, because it's a high level, fast paced life.
Now, was it you that told me? Did you do a tour of the Chase Center down there, the new building, or was that somebody else? I have not been to Chase yet, but I think you told me it's a really nice crib.
Oh no, we talked about it. Yeah, it's unbelievable. You can just spend time walking around and looking at concessions and looking at the layout and forget that you're at a basketball game.
Wow.
I mean, they got spots where couches, leather sofas. You sit around and like you're at a high-end restaurant or you're at the club.
Well, I tell you what, buddy, have a great time down at the All-Star game. I love talking ball with you, and enjoy yourself, and we'll catch up next week.
All right, look forward to it, man. Thank you.
There you go. Michael Holton on Hoops here on the Rip City Drive. Can you imagine that? Hey, bro, I really want Jordan's autograph. Can you get that for me? Yeah, he's my teammate. I got that. And he rolls up on him before the game, and then Michael berates him. And you heard Michael. He berated him in a way he's never been berated before, to the point where he's like, do I want to take a swing at this guy? That's crazy. Can't imagine having a player with that type of aura just lay into me like that. Wow. Yeah, I remember that game, the All-Star game up in Seattle back in the day. Tom Chambers won the MVP. And Dr. J's always had that. He's had an aura, too. And what a great nickname, the Doctor. Julius Irving. All right, there's Michael Holton. Love talking ball with him. Michael's cool, and he's created a good life for himself off the floor. I like talking ball with him. And, that's one thing that's cool about Michael. Like, he's not one of those guys that doesn't care about the game. Like, he watches ball. He still plays. He likes to compete, but he's a basketball junkie, big time. All right, Rip City Drive, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out to me on social. You'll find me there at Chad and Rip City. And I'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow. We just don't have any Blazer games for a week. Get a week off. Get a chance to recoup. Oh, this is a good song. Lionel Richie. And the guitar solo at the end of this was performed by Steve Lukather. This is back in the session musician days where all the great musicians would hang out in the same studio down in L.A., and Lukather was a session musician along with being a part of Toto. So he's in there doing work, and he knows he has to do some work for Lionel. So he goes into a room and starts jamming out. He's just freestyling on the guitar. And Lionel comes in and is like, hey, we're good here. He's like, what are you talking about? We're good. I haven't done anything yet. And he goes, no, we just took what you just played. And they used that for the guitar solo at the end of this song. This song and the guitar solo by Lukather that Lionel used was his answer to Michael Jackson's Beat It and the guitar solo that's famous from Eddie Van Halen. So it's kind of the thing back in the day. Running with the night. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, we have 26 days remaining for our ALS raffle, and all the proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. You can buy 400 tickets for $100, 100 tickets for $50, 25 for 25, or 5 for 10. And you get a chance to win some cash, but more importantly, we're raising money for a good cause. So go to the calendar page at ripcityradio.com. You'll find the link to be able to purchase tickets, and then you can help take part of something special. So jump on board. 26 days remain for the ALS raffle. Your chance to win some money, but most importantly, we support a very good cause. All right. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon out there. I was just taking a peek at I-5 right outside the window, and everything looks pretty smooth. So hopefully it won't be too much of an issue getting back home. But like I told you, if you got to get out and do a little bit of moving around, then you should be okay. Let's see what the drive home's looking like right now. 55 minutes. 55. And that's I-5 all the way. So it's going to go a little bit slower, but that's okay. I can deal with that. Boy, I'm getting a lot of people that message me. Yeah, MJ was not a nice guy. Wasn't nice to Michael, wasn't the best teammate. I mean, he was very determined. You know, that's why the comments from Patrick Dumont, the Mavericks owner, in trying to explain why they did what they did with Luka, talking about the type of players and people they want to be a part of the Mavs. MJ and Kobe are awesome, but they weren't culture guys. They weren't culture builders. I would say Dirk Nowitzki was more of a culture builder with the Mavs. And, you know, Kobe and MJ were just fierce competitors that were willing to do whatever it took to win. And they didn't care how many people they upset along the way. And it's fine. I'm not criticizing them for that. Just they weren't culture guys. Just like Shaq wasn't a workout, fitness, pay attention to his body every day type of guy. That just wasn't Shaq. He didn't have to be. I'm not saying every big man's like this, but when you've been Shaq and you've been as big as he has been, and, you know, throughout the course of his life, and the game probably came easy because he could dominate people with his sheer size. You know, I don't know, just different mindset, I guess. But even Shaq knows that he didn't show up to camp in shape. He would play himself into shape. But then you have guys like MJ and Kobe that all they did was work constantly. I mean, known for excessive practice time, workouts, conditioning, always being on top of their nutrition, everything. I mean, they just, because they're obsessed. MJ, I've heard him before. He called it a curse. This curse, the same thing that drove them to greatness is a curse for them because they can't turn it off. They don't know how to turn it off. It's always on. You know, so it's one of those weird things where it's like, it's what drove them to their greatness, but it probably prevents them from having those sane moments because they can't turn it off. They're always like that. I mentioned that conversation I had with Jerry Rice when I was working down the Bay. Same thing for him. He couldn't turn it off. He's still working out like a crazy man well after his playing days because he was driven to compete. You know, some guys are just different. You know, I don't know what Bird was like. Bird was obsessed with the game as well, but, you know, probably more of a culture guy than Kobe and MJ. That audio is classic, though. Dumont. Let's take a listen to Dumont again. You got to love this guy. He has no clue of what he's talking about. Talking about what he wants as a Maverick or what he wants, the type of guys he wants on his team.
And look, we're going to invest in the future. We're going to invest in a new home for the Dallas Mavericks. We're investing in the community. We do charitable things in the community right now. We believe in the city of Dallas long term, and we believe in Dallas long term. So in my mind, the way teams win is by focus, by having the right character, by having the right culture, and having the right dedication to work as hard as possible to create a championship winning outcome. And if you're not doing that, you're going to lose. And if you look at the greats in the league, the people you and I grew up with, Jordan, Bird, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, they worked really hard every day with a singular focus to win. And if you don't have that, then it doesn't work. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be part of the Dallas Mavericks. That's who we want. I'm unwavering on this. The entire organization knows this. This is how I operate outside of basketball. This is the only way to be competitive and win. If you want to take a vacation, don't do it with us.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate your time. I can't. Their reaction to everything surprises me. They trade a top 3 player in the world in Luka, and they seem surprised that fans have reacted the way they have. And you couldn't ask for a more chaotic situation than AD coming in, playing great, and then you find out after game number 1 that he's going to be out for an extended period of time with another growing injury. It's crazy. Yeah, fans are upset. They're going to be upset. And you're going to be hated forever now. All because you thought Luka was fat and out of shape, so you trade him for a guy that's never available. That's not a good move. And you have no future capital to rebuild your franchise with. Good luck with that. Gosh. And now the Lakers are sitting there with Luka. And Rob Pelinka is probably still stunned that he got that done. That somehow he convinced Nico Harrison to keep things quiet and got it past the finish line before the chaos. Wow. It's pretty good work. The Lakers, you got to give them credit. They always find a way to get the big name star when it looks like they got nothing to work with. And they always pull the rabbit out of their hat. Always. Wilt, Kareem, Magic in that 25-year, $25 million contract back in the day. They got Shaq to come over as a free agent. They somehow discovered Kobe and found a way to get him from Charlotte. He turned out to be amazing. And then LeBron joined them, and now they get Luka. They always come up with the answer. It's just amazing. It's like it never fails. They always come up with the answer. Just like the Blazers have always seemed to have unfortunate luck when it comes to certain players in the draft, the Lakers always get the guy, the next superstar. Always. And this time it's the Mavericks' stupidity, just handing Luka to the Lakers, and they don't have to give up anything in return. It's amazing to me. I love that, though. AD had no idea, nor Jason Kidd, nor J.J. Redick, nor LeBron, nor AD, nor Clutch. It was a surprise to everybody. Come on, man. Who are we kidding here? All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'll be back with the Rib City Drive tomorrow at 3. I don't know what the weather's supposed to do tonight. The good thing is I know Kaylee doesn't have school tomorrow. They're out. They've got some type of winter break coming up, so she's off school tomorrow anyway, so that solves a bit of an issue. But the forecast, let's see what we got coming up here over the night. So it looks like we have some more potential weather coming in. Yep. Looks like we got some more stuff coming in this evening around 6 o'clock up until about 11 o'clock, and then we could have some other stuff coming in through the middle of the night. Interesting. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, Sean and Sandy thinks that Rico didn't like Luka and whatever beer he drank. I don't know what he was drinking. Sean thinks it might have been Heineken. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Have a good night. Be safe out there. I'll be back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3 o'clock.